She posted he treats me like his maid to play the victim. So I walked away without a word and served her divorce papers while she was still smiling at her phone. My name is Liam, I'm 34 years old, and for 6 emotionally exhausting years, I was married to a woman named Isabella, a woman who, to the outside world, seemed like the picture of perfection. We met in our late 20s, both filled with ambition, optimism, and that dangerous blend of naivety and confidence that made us believe we were destined to be one of those rare couples who actually make it. People always told us we looked like the dream pair, photogenic, harmonious, and unshakably close. But what none of them saw, and what Isabella was masterful at hiding, was the discrepancy between her public persona and the private reality that slowly drained the life out of me. Isabella cared about one thing above all else: appearances. Her life was a carefully choreographed performance, a theatrical production played out in filtered photos and hashtagged posts on Instagram. Our trips, our dinners, our date nights, even our small moments were scripted for maximum engagement. She loved the attention, the validation, the "you two are goals" comments from strangers online. But behind the camera lens, it wasn't all laughter and love. It was me carrying the weight of our lives alone, quietly, relentlessly, while she polished the stage lights of her social media fame. I own a small but successful home renovation business. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. I put in long hours, working with my hands, meeting clients, managing contractors, and handling the physical grind that comes with the trade. It's labor-intensive, and it doesn't stop when I get home. Yet despite her working part-time from home as a social media consultant, a job that offered flexibility, freedom, and time, I found myself responsible for almost everything else. The cooking, the cleaning, the grocery runs, even walking the dog, tasks that seemed so minor separately, but together formed a wall I couldn't break through. At first, I justified it. I told myself she was stressed, that she had her own battles. I didn't want to be the husband who complained. I believed in patience, in growth, in sacrificing for love. But over time, my excuses wore thin, and resentment took root where love once thrived. It all came to a head over something so trivial, it's almost ridiculous. But that's how it often goes, isn't it? The big moments don't shatter you. It's the tiny cracks that finally collapse the structure you've been pretending was still whole. It was a Saturday morning, and I had just gotten back from a grueling morning at a job site. My muscles ached, my clothes were covered in dust, and all I wanted was something to eat. I opened the refrigerator, and it was empty. Not a single thing inside. I closed the door, turned around, and saw Isabella sitting on the couch, legs curled up, scrolling her phone without a glance in my direction. I asked as calmly as I could, "Didn't we talk about grabbing groceries yesterday?" She didn't even look up. "Oh, I forgot. Just go get them yourself?" she said flatly, like I was asking for something absurd. I stared at her, exhausted, not just from the workday, but from the entire pattern of our lives. I said, "I've been working 12-hour days all week. You were home. Why is this so hard?" That was enough to ignite her. She looked up, eyes narrowed, and snapped. "So now I'm lazy? Is that it? You think swinging a hammer makes you a better person than me?" What followed wasn't a fight so much as an unraveling, a dissection of every suppressed emotion that had built up over years. I didn't yell, "Irerlido," but I told her the truth, that I felt like I was carrying this marriage alone, both financially and emotionally. She responded with a flood of accusations, petty grievances she'd clearly been holding on to, thrown at me like weapons meant to hurt. I didn't want to keep escalating, so I grabbed my keys, walked out the door, and drove off. I ended up at a small diner, ordered a sandwich, and sat alone in my truck trying to process what had just happened. My heart was heavy, but my mind was quiet, for the first time in a long time. And then my phone buzzed. First, it was one notification, then another, then a flood. Messages from friends, coworkers, even my sister. "Dude, are you okay? Check Facebook. What the hell did she just post?" I opened the app, and there it was, a public post from Isabella, starring herself in a staged selfie with tears in her eyes, clearly meant to evoke sympathy. The caption read, "Imagine being married to a man who thinks paying bills gives him the right to control you, who treats you like his maid. Ladies, choose better. Know your worth." There were already dozens of comments. Women praising her for speaking out, telling her she deserved better. "You go, queen. Dump him. Men are trash." And then one comment hit me like a punch. "Leave his broke self." Broke? I was paying for 90% of our life. I'd even cleared her pre-marriage credit card debt. I sat there, numb, for a few minutes. And then, without commenting or responding, I drove back home. She was sitting there as if nothing had happened, phone in hand, still smiling, probably watching the likes roll in. She glanced at me with a half smile and said, "You saw it." I nodded once and said quietly, "Yeah, I saw it." Then I walked straight to the bedroom, grabbed my laptop, and started typing. Not a Facebook rant, not a rebuttal. I was done talking. I pulled up my lawyer's contact info, Rick, a guy I'd renovated a kitchen for a few years back. I typed, "Hey Rick, it's Liam. I think it's time to talk divorce." That was it.
Noray.
No drama, just a switch flipping inside me. I realized I was finished being disrespected in private and public alike. I was walking away for good. That night I couldn't sleep. Not because I was angry. That part had faded. What remained was a cold, steady clarity. I stared at the ceiling, thinking back on the years I'd spent swallowing disappointment, hoping she'd one day see me. Not just as a provider, but as a partner. Morning came, and she acted like everything was normal. Stirring coffee, scrolling her phone, making small talk. Then she turned and said, "So, are you going to apologize, or are you still mad about groceries?" I didn't even look up from my phone. I just said, "No, I'm done pretending." By 10 a.m., I was sitting across from Rick. He wasn't the kind of guy to sugarcoat things, and that's what I needed. After showing him screenshots of her post, the comments, and a few financial statements, he looked me in the eye and said, "You've got a strong case, Liam. No kids. She doesn't work full-time, and you're the sole provider. This can be over quick, unless she makes it messy." I nodded. "I don't want the furniture. I don't want the house. I just want out." Rick tapped his pen and smirked. "She's going to be shocked. If she thinks alimony's coming, she's in for a surprise." By that afternoon, the divorce paperwork was drafted, the process server was scheduled, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. Not happiness, not joy, but peace. Calm before the storm I was ready for. That evening, I walked into the house with the envelope in my hand. Isabella was on the phone, laughing loudly with one of her friends. The moment she saw me, she rolled her eyes. "Oh look, he's back. Thought you were off sulking." I placed the envelope on the coffee table gently and said, "This came for you." She picked it up, confused. "What is this?" "Open it." She ripped the top, pulled out the papers, and her smirk dropped instantly. Her eyes moved back and forth across the first page, then the second. You're not serious," she said, voice cracking. "I'm completely serious," I replied calmly. That's when the mask fell off. "You're divorcing me over a Facebook post? That's childish, Liam." I shook my head. "No, I'm divorcing you because that post was just the final nail. I've been carrying this marriage alone while you built a fake life online. You humiliated me in public. You ignored me at home. I'm done." She tried to pivot. "What about the house? My lifestyle?" I pointed to page 5. "You can keep the furniture, the car, whatever's in your name. I'll take what's mine. My business, my peace, my dignity." She picked up her phone, probably to call her mom or lawyer. But before she could finish dialing, her phone buzzed again. She answered, and I heard her say, "Wait, you're his lawyer? No, this can't. No, I didn't agree to any of this. He's overreacting. Wait, what settlement proposal?" Her voice faltered. Her hands trembled. The reality hit her like a freight train. She looked at me like I just betrayed her. But in truth, I'd finally freed myself. Liam, please, can we just talk? You're blowing this way out of proportion, she pleaded. But for the first time in years, I felt calm, firm, in control. You made a post. This is me responding. Because when someone builds their entire identity on curated perfection, they rarely know what to do when faced with real-life consequences. The days that followed were a slow, predictable collapse. First came denial. She thought I was bluffing. Then panic, as she realized this was real. Then bargaining, then rage, and finally the regret. She deleted the Facebook post, but screenshots had already made their rounds. Some of her own friends sent them to me, saying, "Dude, I'm sorry. That was too far." Even her inner circle started pulling away when they saw the truth surface. I didn't post a single thing. I didn't respond online. I let the silence speak. She called, texted, even cried on voicemails. I didn't pick up. The only words spoken were through lawyers. Eventually, hers asked if reconciliation was possible. "Absolutely not," was my answer. When Rick pulled the full financial records, it became crystal clear. I had covered everything. Her loans, her car, her clothes, her life. The court agreed no alimony, no support. Just what was in her name. And that wasn't much. I moved out peacefully. Stayed with a friend while apartment hunting. As I was packing, she stood in the doorway and said bitterly, "You'll regret this, Liam. You're throwing away 6 years over one mistake." I looked her in the eyes one last time and said, "No, I'm fixing 6 years of mistakes, starting with this one." 2 months later, the divorce was final. Fast, clean, brutal. Word spread. People saw through the illusion. She couldn't keep up the lifestyle. She had to get a full-time job. She moved back in with her mom. Her Instagram went quiet. A few mutual friends said she still complains that I blindsided her, that I was cold. But the truth is, I was never cold, just patient. Patient for far too long. And now, I'm free. It hurt, yes, but it also healed me. And the most surprising thing? Some of those same people who once commented "men are trash" on her post later reached out. I didn't know the full story, man.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was just done. So what do you think? Was I too harsh? Or did I do what needed to be done? Thanks for watching till the end. If this story hit you hard, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life bombshells.